So on your iPad, to access the Google Sheets website and not the app, you have to go through Safari. If you go through Chrome, it's going to auto log you into your account and it's going to kick you over to Sheets. So by clicking on Safari, you're going to circumvent that. So here I am, I'm in Google, I'm already signed in, and so I'm going to go to Sheets, just like I normally would, and you'll notice that I'm on the computer version. And so I have, I'm going to create a blank spreadsheet. I am not the quickest person typing with the keyboard on here, so bear with me, but let's say that this is temp, and let's say that I have volume. So you're going to notice that my thing is off center, meaning you'll notice that my box isn't quite centered. It's a problem that's going to happen on here because the resolution, you can mess with it and try to fix it, or you can just kind of deal with it. We're not going to need it that much. So now that I'm in my temperature, I'm going to type in my numbers. These are just numbers I'm making up. So don't think that I am entering anything specific. Okay, so I've got, let's add one more data point. Let's do 27. Okay, same thing over here. I'm just going to add some random numbers. Okay, so there we go. So I've got my numbers. I've got these little blank cells, which I don't really like. Let me see if I can fix that without it being too much of a pain in the butt. Chances are no. So the thing that's causing the problem is that Google and iPad don't really play well in the sandbox together. And so that's why there's part of a discrepancy in what's going on here. That's not what I wanted. I want this, and I want paste. Yep, nope, not gonna work. I don't care. All right, so now I'm going to highlight everything. So when I highlight it, I'm gonna come up to Insert, and I'm going to Insert Chart. When you go to Insert Chart, it'll start with some default chart type. And so you need to go up here, and in Column Chart, you need to select Scatter because I want to know the relationship between those two sets of numbers. I don't want two separate lines for those set of numbers. So you'll have to do Scatter Plot. Then you have your x-axis. It tells you which column you're using. So let's say that maybe you typed it backwards in your data table. If you want x-axis to be the volume, then you can easily switch it. If you want the x-axis to be the temperature, then you can switch that. So that's how you just flip which axis everything is on. Same thing with the series part, and now you're good to go. So now we're going to go to Customize. When you go into Customize, we've already done our chart style. There's chart axes and titles. Again, you always need to have a title. Remember, it has to be a proper scientific title with our variables and system mentioned, but again, I don't care. I'm just doing this for proof of concept. Oh, it does let me move it. Okay. Nope, not gonna let me move it out of the way. Whatever. So title, you can do the title theme, you can do whatever. I don't care about that. I'm just gonna put title for now. And so then chart titles and axis titles. So I also need to come to that's chart title. You'll click down arrow to be able to add your horizontal axis title, which I believe was, I don't remember what we said it was. I don't remember what we said it was. That's okay. Again, I don't care. So let's say that the horizontal axis was my temperature. And then my vertical axis was my volume. Remember, this isn't necessarily correct. I'm just showing this for proof of concept. All right, so that's our chart titles. Now I can look, I've got a title, I've got my axes labels. Don't forget your units with yours. Sweet. We're gonna come down to series, and this is important. When we come down to series, you'll notice we don't have any lines. And so it's because we did a scatter plot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come into series, we're gonna scroll down, and we're gonna click on trend line. That trend line is what's gonna be our line of best fit. Trend line is the fancy name for line of best fit. Legend, we shouldn't have to do anything with. We're going to come down to the horizontal axis. And so we'll notice in my graph example, it doesn't go through the y-axis. And so I want to see my intercepts. So what you're going to do is you're going to kind of come in here, and it's going to be a little bit of trial and error, and that's fine. But I'm going to say that I want my graph to show me from negative 100. And so now I can see all the way from negative 100. Now I can look and see and say, oh, I don't need quite that much. Maybe I'll go to negative 10 to where it'll show me. And so now I see that I need to go down a bit further on my volume. So I'm going to go to my vertical axis. And on my vertical axis, I'm going to do the same thing. Minimum value. I'm going to change this to be negative, I don't know, let's say 30. And now I can see where it goes through both of my axes, where the x-intercept is and where the y-intercept is.